As soon as Christine chimes in, we'll get the meeting started, guys. Everybody, thank you.
Garnet, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks, Carol. Hi, Joe. Hi, Tyler.
Hi, Garnet. Can you hear me as well?
Yep, thank you. I'm at City Hall because
Awesome.
I just left Tom's and ran here to get to the meeting.
Oh, perfect.
I'm joining you via Zoom because there's a problem with my keyboard on my computer. I punch the numbers and nothing happens, the letters and numbers, nothing happens. It just keeps the little cursor going bing, bing, bing. So I'm gonna try it this way. It's my first time, so bear with me.
Okay. Howard was on. We've lost Howard again. How are we making out, Christine?
Sorry, yes. Sorry, guys, I have to switch to a different device. Just give me a second here.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, just a warning there that we're currently broadcasting live on YouTube right now.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Thompson, it's Chris Stewart. I am now in the meeting. I just don't have video for this meeting.
Okay, so I was
can see
hoping
you.
that. Okay, we'll deal with the best we can, and thank everybody for joining in today's meeting. And it's 4:30. We're going to call the meeting to order. And note, Christine, is there any no shows today for committee members?
No, I'm seeing in the part that all members are in attendance.
Okay, thank you, Christine. And item number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Seeing none, we'll go to item number 4, approval of the minutes from September 22nd, 2021. And the draft minutes from December 2021 Transportation Committee. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Councillor Alsop, Councillor Carr. Any errors or omissions? Anybody opposed? The meetings are carried. Thank you very much. There's no deputations today. And we have one report item. It's in two categories. Traffic calming pilot project update. Project manager's report number November 22nd, 21. And the first one, the report to committee traffic calming update, November 2021, raise edits. And then the second one, report to committee traffic calming update, September 2021. So can we have staff take it from here?
Hello, Councillor. I am happy to speak to that. Just confirming everyone can hear me.
I don't see any no's, so please go ahead, Evan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Now, has everybody got the copy of the report in front of them, or does somebody need to share the screen? Okay, Evan, away you go. Thank you.
This report is an update and a follow-up to the committee from our report that was provided in September, just regarding the traffic calming pilot project.
Yep.
It's provided just to be an update that the petitions have been sent out to residents and received. We had 40% of all of the petitions sent were in support of traffic calming.
Yes,
And since then, we have completed a point assessment for Village Drive and confirmed that the street does qualify for further review of traffic calming based off of the city's policy. And so we are moving ahead with that now. And so staff will be looking into different specific measures that we could look at for Village Drive, be it something like speed bumps or lane narrowing or other potential options for the street, that we will be doing both an internal technical review and then consultation with staff, our operations and emergency departments, but as well as before having a public consultation, ideally sometime in the winter of next year.
any questions for Evan on, now you're dealing on number 1 and 2 at the same time, Evan, or just number 1?
1 and 2 at the same time. Yes, they're
Okay.
the second one is really the September report is really an addendum or or an appendix to the November report.
Okay,
Just
so
for
is
reference.
there any questions for Evan on the report, or any questions on the going forward with it? So I'll open it up to the floor. Okay, so Evan, I have one question then. With this here, the staff is going back for further review. So when do you expect there could possibly be some sort of a traffic calming situation put into place? Would it be a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now?
For construction timing, I would think it will be budget dependent. And so I know that there are discussions being had regarding the capital budget right now. I know that we won't have a final design until likely the summer of next year, where we'd be able to have a package that we could potentially tender. So
Yes.
as far as timing goes for next potential steps, that's what I would see where we would be going right now. I don't know if I could confirm a construction date at this time without being in the loop on where and what financing is may be available.
Okay. Any other questions? I have one other one then, if nobody's got, is there anything that we can do on a temporary basis to try to, because this sounds like it certainly could be longer down the road than I would like to see. Is there anything temporarily that we can do to try and slow down the traffic on Village Drive? Because we all know it's excessive, and these residents are going to have to wait now maybe 2 years. So is there anything that you can see or staff can see of possibly a temporary measure?
I would refer to my colleague, General Manager Reed, who's on the call. If he perhaps may have some ideas regarding an operational standpoint for potential transportation or traffic calming impacts. I know from an engineering capital projects perspective, our timelines generally are longer.
Yep.
So I would ask General Manager Reed if he has any comments that he may be able to provide highlights on that.
Mr. Reed, Manager Reed, can you want to comment anything or on that situation?
Yeah, through the chair to all of committee members. Ultimately, we want to follow the policy. It is a bit of a challenge to put some temporary measures in, like there are some speed bumps that you can put in that are nailed in place. But they do, we're going into the winter season. The ones that are nailed in aren't really a permanent fixture. So once we go through the process, and if, obviously if the committee determines that Village Drive is the appropriate street to move forward with the pilot project, we can work with engineering on coming up with even just some type of mitigating measures to get us through until a permanent solution's found.
Okay. Councillor Alsop.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And following up on that, obviously, this is a pilot project and we're excited to get going on it and see the results on Village Drive. My question is that, once we've gotten through this first phase of the pilot project, we have things installed on Village Drive. Is that going to set a template that's then easier to roll out on other city streets? Particularly, I've had some people asking about Tracy Park and Yeoman Street. Once we get through this first exercise in the pilot project, is this going to make it easier for us on a moving forward basis to add these type of features to other city streets?
If I can answer that question.
Steve, yeah, please.
So I think going through this process, and while it seems like a small undertaking, I think it takes up probably almost as much time as a regular project in certain ways. So I think the best thing is, I think I've mentioned it before, is Evan will sort of report back, determine what his staff resources, sort of his time spent on this project has been, and then what the overall cost is. And then I think maybe we could look at what we do in general in the engineering versus do we have the excess capacity to sort of let Evan do other projects like that. So that'll sort of come back to council, I guess, through a report. But again, we'll have to we have to complete this project before we know what the implications are from a financial perspective, not just in terms of what the project costs, but, doing the consultation, et cetera, that Evan's doing right now. So we'll have a better idea once the project is done.
Okay, Councillor Alsop, set. Yep, okay. My question, and maybe now more to Steve or Evan, in the projects that possibly will be put forward on the capital budget for next year, and we do design streets and everything, are we seriously looking at traffic calming situations on future designs of the roads now? Or is that going to be further down, maybe anything that's done in 2022? Are we going to have some of that traffic calming put into place, or does that look like 2023 or 2024?
So I think, sorry through you, Jared. So I think engineering, one of their first requirements and what their ethical responsibilities is for public safety. So it's always part of the process. So I think any project that's underway, there's currently projects at various stages or starting this year. So, they always kind of go through that scope. But in terms of what I think you're talking about, could there be enhanced sort of a scope of which traffic calming could be reviewed in? So I think the answer to that is, I believe it's our operating budget. We'll put forward a budget item for an update to the active transportation plan, transportation master plan, which will have a complete streets component to it. So that would be the place where we would see if there's an opportunity for enhancements.
Okay.
At that point. So that's kind of how we would sort of immerse it into it. So we could look at stuff at that point in time, such as, for just as an example, traffic circles as traffic calming, as opposed to sort of capacity sort of issues.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everybody. Any other questions for Evan or Stephen or Joe on that particular items? If not, I need a mover and a seconder to receive both of those. And Councillor Alsap and Councillor Feeney. Anybody opposed to accepting them? If not, it's carried. Thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, board members. And information items, we have two of them, and I'm sorry, I was going to add 2 or 3 items, but I'll add them later on under new business that I'm going to bring up. But the first one is the correspondence received from residents regarding amendments to park and restrict regulations near Belleville General Hospital. Correspondence amendments to parking regulations near Belleville General Hospital. So Christine, do you want to chime in on the letter? I think we all got a copy of it. Christine?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Thompson. The letter was provided to my office through the city clerk's office, and I believe it was at the request of council that it be shared with the members of the transportation committee.
So has everybody got a copy of the letter or seen the copy of the letter? Anybody got any concerns? Want to speak about the concerns this particular person has down on the parking on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and that situation down there? Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for reminder's sake, did we not implement a parking pass system where residents were provided a parking pass for that area?
I
Yes.
understood. I think I'll get Aunt Christine to answer that.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Carr. There is currently what we refer to as a pilot project for residential permits in the area. The information was communicated to the residents, I say earlier in the spring or late spring, early summer. It's ongoing. I can just I haven't looked recently, but the uptake on that really has been very minimal since in that time. Not many homeowners seem to have a need for a permit. We will continue with the pilot project because of the possibility that once the area signage changes and includes Saturdays and Sundays, the residents may have more need for a permit.
Okay, yeah, because it would appear as though the resident is concerned about the ability to park on the street and mentions that when they have visitors to their home that they park on the road and take a chance of a quote parking ticket. But if they're able to have a permit, then that would negate any kind of chance of a ticket. Is that correct?
That is correct. They can apply. The permits are all available through a digital process, and there's no cost at the present time during this pilot project for that permit.
Okay, and sorry, go ahead.
No, and like as I indicated, there's really hasn't been a lot of activity with the permits in that particular area. I think we've issued, I think on a regular basis, maybe 2 or 3 per month to the same resident.
Okay,
and the same 3 residents.
Right. And just last question, and maybe perhaps this is in addition to not being aware, is if the resident isn't tech savvy, if you will, and didn't have the ability to do an online process, no issue with contacting City Hall to get assistance with an appropriate residential parking pass?
That's correct. They could contact City Hall and we would assist them or walk them through the process or take the information and upload the data on their behalf.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So would the advice would be then to contact this particular person and advise them about the parking pass? Would that be the wishes of the committee to advise this lady that, or this person, that there is this available and try to see if that works better for her rather than trying to change? Councillor Feeney.
The point I was trying to make is that because the letter was handwritten, I think it would be safe to assume that this person does not have access to a computer. So I think it would be, good for us to get in touch with that person and walk them through.
Okay. So is that all right with the board members that we leave staff to contact this person? I explained to her that we have the park and pass, and hopefully this will mitigate some of the issues that she has with the tickets. So with your permission, then I'll instruct Christine to have some dialogue with this person. Okay, thank you. And the only other thing on the list is the outstanding items. And then there's going to be some dialogue and some other stuff. But any of the outstanding items that staff would like to speak about? Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to receive it, and then I've got some questions on some of the items.
Yeah, thank you. Motion to receive by Councillor Carr. We need a seconder. Councillor Alsep. Councillor Carr.
Yes, thank you. So just bear with me as I go through a couple of these as they kind of have been there for a while. The photo radar and stoplight cameras, perhaps maybe, and I know that a RFP was recently issued. Perhaps maybe some notes could be just added to that outstanding item list that an RFP was sent out and the date, just for committee members and anybody else. They can at least track what's going on with that particular initiative. And I'll just leave that there. And as I go through some of them, Airport Parkway, and there's going to be a theme. It's obviously related to speeding concerns. I, as probably every other council member, continue to get calls and emails about speeding in different areas. So Airport Parkway, there was supposed to be a speed spy data report and findings. I can't recall whether that ever came through to us. And if it did, then obviously it can come off. If it's still outstanding, could somebody tell me?
Who would like to tackle that?
I believe that's under mine. So through the chair, Councillor Carr.
Thank you.
We're still working on. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
They're still being worked on. Currently, I only have one member who's qualified for the speed spy analysis. He's off on course, and we did get caught up in a battery issue and ordering batteries for our device, as well as somewhat of a hectic summer with some serious motor vehicle collision investigations. So we're trying the best we can, but we'll hope to get them to you.
Okay, well, yeah, that'd be good for the committee just to report back to the public. So next one, Mr. Chair, that I'm looking at is Harmony Road East. Transportation Operations was to put up a display sign and report results to the committee.
What number is that, Councillor Carr?
That's number 7.
Thank you.
And if I could just get an update, I know we got accident statistics, but the display sign, I was wondering if that's ever been circulated and if we have any data on that one.
Through the chair to Councillor Carr, we did have the speed sign for a bit, and I'll report back in the next committee meeting with the results of that. My apologies.
No, don't apologize. I know that this committee and other committees and council as a whole give everybody a lot of work to do. So I'm just going through them just to see where we're at. The other one that I was looking for on this list, there's 2 more actually, Mr. Chair. The new electronic speed displays. I believe that Transportation Operations was looking at purchasing some extra ones. And I was wondering if those have been purchased and implemented out yet.
Mr. Reed?
I do know that 2 POs were issued for the purchase, and I'll just have to check with the traffic guys if they did come in, and go from there. I know it was a bit of a lead time delay to get them, a few weeks or like 8 weeks, I think. So I'm not sure if they're in yet, but I'll report back.
Okay, yeah, and I know, like everything else, delivery and supply chains are quite disrupted, and anything electronic, for that matter, has some delays. But that would be good. And then when they do come in, and I'll just leave this with Mr. Reed. Ashley Street, Canafton Road North, Harmony Road and Airport Parkway are all areas where I'm getting some complaints, and certainly Sergeant Lannon can take note of that. But at least in terms of putting out some signage and see if we can remind drivers of the speed limit and maybe collect some data there as well. The last item I have, Mr. Chair, is Ashley Street and the truck traffic concerns. Operations was to conduct a traffic study and report the results. And I just wondering if that has been undertaken yet, or what the status is.
That was going to be a part of our having the sign out there and collecting data, and then having the sign set up for speed. So we'll have a report back in January.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Councilor Carr. I've got one, number 10, stop signs in First North Street and North Street, First Bay Drive and Village Drive. Staff to engineer to operate and review the area operations and engineering. I'm still getting questions from a fellow councillor. What's happening with those stop signs, whether we're going to install them, or what's the update? So I can update him, and then he can update the person that's been asking him. Mr. Reid. I know he's thinking.
Yes, I am thinking. That one I do know is on the, we're trying to get a report back and get back to you. So I'll report back via an email so you can get back to the resident, but I'll also update the committee in January.
Okay, so I will tell him it's still in, and the number 9, potential locations consideration for community safety zones. Report outlining the criteria to apply when designating a community safety zone. I presume that's ongoing. It says police and operations. I presume that's an ongoing issue. Barry or Joe?
Yes, it is, Garnet.
Okay. Any comment, Barry? Nope. Okay, thank you. Any other items from committee members? Howard, you're going to ask about Farm Road. Speed limit. Can't hear you, Howard. No, you're not coming across, Howard. Sorry. So I'll ask it for Howard just in case he can't come across. What's happening with Farm Road for speed limit? I know there was discussion about speed limits being reduced during construction. Is that still a possibility, Mr. Reid or Steve Ashton, or whoever it might be? Howard was the one that asked me this just the other day.
Sorry, I think what you were talking about was you passed a resolution, I believe, to put the speed limit, reduce the speed limit in advance of the construction occurring. But, well, I guess Joe and I can probably speak to that, or speak offline about how to sort of move that forward.
Okay. All right. We'll leave that, Howard. Is that okay? Sorry, I can't hear you. Councillor Carr.
Yeah, thank you. This was debated at council as a recommendation came from this committee, and there was to be a bylaw drafted to ensure that the speed limit was listed at 50, because again, there was some confusion about what the speed limit was based on the fact that it may fall under the Thurlow traffic bylaw versus the city of Belleville, but not to muddy the waters. But the city clerk during debate at council indicated that a bylaw should be passed to clear up any misunderstandings, make Farnham Road entirely 50 kilometers. And then because of that change, I requested that sign be posted to reflect the 50 kilometer hour zone. And I know that Mr. Pulver had raised this issue, and we had moved that motion through this committee onto council, and a bylaw, I believe, was drafted.
We'll touch base with Matt McDonald to see where that's at for implementation of the bylaw, if that was the case. I don't quite recall, but we'll talk to Matt.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other committee members got questions on any one of the other items? Or does any staff want to report on anyone? Mr. Reed?
Councillor Thompson, were you going to bring up under new business the pilot RFP that was issued, or
Yes.
or would you
Yes, I
like to
am.
discuss it
Yep.
now as it's kind of listed as
Yeah.
outstanding items?
Yeah, no, I was going to bring up the RFP once we got through this this list here, if there's no other questions on that particular list. I would ask if, and I know it's everybody's busy as a beehive, if there's, and on the number of them, if staff could even just make a note under each one of them, still in process, and some little note on each one of them before our meeting. It doesn't have to be lengthy, because I know the police are busy, Mr. Reed's busy, Steve is busy, all staff is busy, but it would certainly help if we could just get a couple of points on each item before the meeting. Yeah, I think it would just help us. And, you know, it prepares for the meeting a little better, and to have some sort of fortune in that. If we have that information, then if staff or members still like to ask questions, at least we have a little bit. So if I could ask staff to, and the police to see if they could make point form in each one of them before each meeting. Is that possible, Barry and Joe and Steve?
So could you just clarify what you're requesting, Councillor
Well,
Thompson?
On each one of them, like there's, I don't know, I mean, there's 18 or 19. So if your category is noted there, like for instance, number 1 or number 2, police and engineering, if you could just have sort of a quick note in there, just a couple of words of what's gone on with it. And even if you just say still in progress, at least it gives us some sort of an idea of what's happening with each one of those items. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on it because you are all busy. So is that okay, Barry?
Yes, thank you for the
Thank you,
clarification.
Sergeant. Thank you. Okay, and I just missed my, okay, under new business. If there's nothing else, I need a motion to receive the outstanding items. Councillor Alsep and Councillor Carr. Anybody opposed? Carried. Thank you. And other new business, 2 of them already come up, and that was the stop signs in Tin Town, as Chris Millette calls it, and the speed limit on Farm Road. And Howard, I will speak to that later. I'll give you a call, and because I know we can't hear you. The other thing is the RFP for the that just went out. So I'm going to give it to Joe Reed, because I know it started with Christine and it was handed over to Joe for some final. So Joe, you want to take it away then with the RFP for the red lights and the speeding and the cameras for the buses. Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give the committee an update on where we're at for that. So in I guess the beginning, I guess a couple weeks ago or a week ago, it was issued a request for proposal through our finance department for automated traffic enforcement pilot project. So we're seeking, information or proposals from vendors that can provide different things. A part of the terms of reference that was issued was to have a part of the proposal red light intersection camera enforcement, as also automated speed enforcement and the school bus stop arm enforcement. So those 3 items we're gathering information proposals from vendors And then once that's done, the closing date for the tender is December the 8th. I did actually receive this week a request from a vendor. I think it was from Global to extend the closing date until the end of December to give a little bit more time for them to prepare an adequate proposal for the city's consideration. So that being said, at this point, I haven't had any other questions. So we've kept the date at that. But if there's other questions that come forward that we're extending the submission date, we'll consider that. So we're looking forward to getting back these proposals and then being able to present them to the committee.
Any questions, Mr. Reid? Many members, council members? So on the extended date, then we're leaving it as December 8th, or are we extending it?
At this point, we're leaving it December the 8th, but I did want to just highlight that if there are some questions that, provide that are more technical in nature, that, the vendors, so what takes place, just to give you guys a little bit of a context, is that vendors can ask questions, submit questions, and then what ends up happening is that the questions are then an addendum is sent out. So all vendors who would submit bids are able to hear the same question, get the same answer that other vendors are. So it's completely fair, right? So if a question comes in that, that we didn't think about or a little more complex, that would warrant extending the date, we will consider it. At this point, the only question I've received is, can we extend the date? It's really been out for 2 to 3 weeks, so I don't think at this point it warrants extending it. But if there is a technical question that comes in before the deadline for questions, which is December the 1st, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay. Sergeant Barry.
Sorry, thank you, Councillor Thompson, through to Mr. Reid. Was when I read through this, one thing that kind of jumped out, and it's loosely covered, but I could probably see it might be a concern for any vendor, is reaching any established agreements with the Ontario government for access to driver's information. Did anything get indicated to you, or whether they were having any cooperation with the government in regards to that?
I have not heard any concerns in that regard, Barry.
Thank you. I have not spoke with the vendor anyways that came, but when I read that, I figured it said a turnkey with a back office solution. I know that's something, unless a vendor is already in an agreement with the ministry for that data securement and stuff, that might be a big stumbling block for some vendors new to the industry anyways.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from, so I think everybody got a copy of the RSP. I asked Christine to send it. I know she sent it to me. Did every board member get a copy of the RSP so they could read it? She sent it out. If she didn't send it out to everybody, do you just want a copy of the RFP just to review it? Did everybody get one? Can I show of hands? So Carl, you didn't. You should have got in within the next couple of days, or maybe even it was just today or yesterday. So, because
okay, I'll check for it.
Okay, would you check for it, Councillor Feeney? But there's a lot of reading there, but I just thought it was important for the board members to see the RFP. I thought it was coming to the board before it went out, but I don't know the protocol, so we'll see it when it comes back with the input from the vendors. So, so any other questions on the RFP, Councillor or Mr. Reid?
Yeah, if committee members do see anything that you want to highlight or you have concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're always taking things into consideration. So feel free to reach out to me. And in talking to Christine, I understand that it was a fairly big job getting an RFP ready for this type of an RFP because of all the details that you would have to include in that, as Sergeant Barry would just one little note that he found. So I understand it was fairly extensive to get this ready, Joe. Yes, I do want to give credit to Christine Stewart, who worked behind the scenes to get the base of it going, and it was great. And we are very fortunate that we're a part of the Ontario Traffic Council as well, that was able to provide information. And again, this is a trend that's going not only here in Belleville, but across Ontario and across Canada. So there's other people that have been working on it too. So it's been able to good networking opportunity to reach out and get information from other municipalities. So
Okay. That's good. Any other questions for staff or anybody concerning the RFP, or is there anything else under new business that people would like to bring up? Councillor Alsop.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, you're off. You're muted.
Are we good?
Now we are.
There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, just as a quick item, I received this just before the committee met today. And part of it we already talked about. It's a concern from someone on Tracy Park Drive. Questions about traffic calming, but I understand we'll wait for some of that info to come back. But they did make notice that after the construction was done at the northwest corner, a 50-kilometer sign had been placed right behind that, but that the rest of the street was posted at 40 kilometers an hour. I was just wondering if staff were aware of that, or if they could report back with a comment. And then the other part of it was they were asking about speed studies. I think that there was a speed study that was done recently enough on Tracy Park. I just wondering if staff could send that to me after the committee meeting, whenever they have availability, just so I can get back to the resident.
So Mr. Reid, would you like to report or comment on the 2 speed signs? Or do you want to get back to Councillor Alsop later?
yeah, we'll have to investigate it. Again, I thank you for passing along, Councillor Alsop, and we'll also look through our records, and we'll talk to Barry and the police if they've done some speed spy studies there, and get that data to you.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much,
Thank
and I'll pass that along.
Sir,
And Mr. Reid,
through the chair,
sorry.
was it Tracy Park Drive or Tracy Street?
Tracy Park Drive. Yeah, that's an important clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Reid, the no parking signs that we were going to install on Coleman right up to the end of that street, because of that one constituent concerned about this no parking on our side, have we continued the no parking signs till the end of that Coleman Street? Or what's the protocol with that? Because I keep getting emails from her.
So just for all the committee as well. So currently we've looked at Coleman Street. It is signed appropriately as per the bylaw. The resident who has been contacting us, as per as a part of our terms of reference in our process, she has gathered a petition. As you can appreciate, some are for and some are against any more restrictions on that street. So it's not a complete, slam dunk on signing it. Now, part of the next process is for staff to evaluate and consider if there are, warrants. So following the terms of reference. So that's what we're at right now from a staff point of view, is just seeing if there is warrants to put no parking through that area.
Yeah, and what it is there's no parking up to a certain point on Coleman, and then from one point further on, the bylaw states that it ends certain spot, and she wants it to go further up on Coleman Street. So we've been dealing with this person for some time now and trying to get the thing rectified. And I thank you, Mr. Reid, for doing what you're doing. So anything else that anybody would like to discuss for the Transportation Committee? If Christine?
Councillor Thompson, no, I don't have anything else to bring up at this time.
Okay, Mr. Ashton? We may,
I'm good, thank you.
thank you. And Evan?
No comments from me. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Okay, if there's nothing else from the committee members, we will not be meeting in December. We'll meet January 26th at 4:30. and it will still be by Zoom unless we decide to change it. You know, with this particular committee, we can do Zoom, and we may, if it works out with the broadcasting it this way, we may do all of them in the future, because I think it's a good idea to give that opportunity to the people to be able to watch it, see what's going on. And maybe from there, they'll have more questions for us in the long run. So I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas that I won't see before. I need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Alsop, Councillor Feeney. Anybody opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much and good night, folks.